After all this time being a fan of the series, I've come to realize everyone's kind of mean to Goku. I can't tell you how common it is for people to call him stupid. Sometimes deservingly so, but mostly undeservingly. And in my eyes, I completely disagree. He's not stupid. Actually, the opposite. I think he's actually kind of a genius. And I know some people are probably thinking that's outlandish. Like, it's one thing to say that he's not stupid, but it's another to say he's a genius. But don't worry, I'm not just gonna say that and not back it up. I have reasons to believe that. Okay, this video isn't particularly anything new. A while back, I did make a similar video to this, although I feel now it's very outdated, and it was made by me when I was way less experienced and knowledgeable about the series. Not to say it's necessarily wrong, I still agree with most of that video, but I feel like it could be formatted better, and given all the stuff that we have now, I feel like this video will have much better examples, and will be much more focused than the last one. So today is kind of an opinionated piece, but something grounded in truth. I'm here to discuss why Goku's not actually stupid, and on top of that, why you could probably consider him one of the smartest people in the series. Before we talk about how smart he actually is, let's start by talking about how he's not dumb, for lack of a better word. Goku does have a lot of goofy moments, I guess. That's the best way to put it. It doesn't make him look that bright, and I can't disagree. There are certain things that make him not look as smart as he is. Oh, and by the way, we're going to be mostly talking about Dragon Ball Super here. I could spend a lot of time talking about Z, Dragon Ball, and even GT, but most of the discussion comes from Super, and I want to focus on stuff that's current because that's reflective of how Goku is right now in the present. Now, I think there are some points in Super where we could deservingly call Goku stupid. Two of which come to mind in the Goku Black arc. But even so, I wouldn't call these stupid, more so him being forgetful for the sake of plot. Which is kind of annoying, but hey, they have to introduce some sort of peril somehow. Not that I like it one bit, but still. It's stupidity meant to make the plot go along. One of them being Goku forgetting the senzu beans, and one of them being Goku screwing up the Mafuba by forgetting the stuff that they need for it. Granted, the manga does at least make this better by making it not really Goku's fault, it's more so he just grabbed the wrong things. But still, both of these were done kind of for plot purposes, so yeah, it's stupid, but that arc was kind of a narrative mess in many senses anyways, and I feel like it's a symptom from that, causing them to have to use Goku as a crutch to actually help make some sort of drama here. I mean, that deserves a video on its own talking about why that's a narrative mess, but that's not the point for this video. So why'd I bring those two things up? Doesn't that go exactly against what I'm saying? Well, I have a reason to bring them up that still supports my point. Unless you also want to count Goku letting his guard down in Resurrection F, which I don't really count as stupidity, but again, besides the point. These are really some of the only important moments where there's something that Goku does that's stupid and actually affects the plot. Outside of that, most of Goku's stupidity is just done for jokes. This is my main reason to defend him here. He has goofy moments, and personally I don't find the jokes funny, and I know no one else does either, but that's what they are. They're jokes. A lot of them are meant for comedic purposes. It might portray Goku in a bad light, but in the grander scheme of things, they're not really meant to be important points of the story. They have no lasting effect and they don't affect the plot at all. It just makes Goku look pretty aloof in the moment and not much else. And you might be thinking, well, I'm essentially calling him stupid, right? I just flat out said he does have stupid moments. And even if these stupid moments don't affect the plot at all, they're still stupid moments. Well, that's the thing. I don't think it's fair to consider these reflective of Goku as a character, since most of these dumb jokes don't actually have a lasting effect at all. Sure, Goku might not be street smart or book smart. He isn't the brightest person, but there's a reason I'm bringing up these things and ignoring them. I feel like these accusations of his stupidity are pretty overblown. But there's a very good reason why I think it's not that important as you think. And to discuss that, we're gonna have to get into why Goku's actually pretty smart. I mean, it's pretty clear by now, this series is a shonen focused mostly on battles. So what better way to judge a character in a series than how they perform in battle? And I'm not talking power scaling here. Goku is strong, but a lot of his victories, big or small, come from how smart he is in battle. As I said, the best way to judge someone like this is to judge their tactical performance, especially in a series like this. His goofy moments done for jokes make him look kinda bad, but they don't really affect anything in the grander scheme of the story. But when you look at his battle smarts and how he actually performs in fights, this has a huge effect not only on his character, but everyone around him and the story as a whole. And there's things that can only be accomplished by him being that smart in battle. In my eyes, Goku's arguably one of the smartest mortals in the series. Of course, he's not like Bulma or Gohan where he has intellectual smarts. Like, he's not gonna build a time machine or anything. But book smarts aren't the only way to judge someone's intelligence. And I have a couple examples that I want to discuss to talk about how truly smart Goku is. And just to preface this section, I am still only gonna be talking about Dragon Ball Super here. We could look at fights from the original series, both in his childhood, arcs from Z, and even arcs from GT. But since this video is more focused on Super, and that's where most of the criticisms come from, we're only going to be looking at that. Not to say that there aren't plenty of moments back then. No, there's plenty of moments in those series as well. But it wouldn't be worthwhile to cover them for something like this video, and in all honesty, there's plenty of examples in Super alone. I will be taking from each of the multiple interpretations of Super though, because I know there's a bunch and they're all pretty valid. So we will be looking at the anime, the manga, and the movies as well, even though the first two movies kinda count as Z movies, but whatever. And speaking of the Z movies, let's talk about Resurrection F. Like I mentioned before, there was that point where Goku did let his guard down. Which, first of all, they do make it a point to address this later on. Whis directly talks about this and tries to get Goku to not lower his guard in battle, but he's actually portrayed pretty well in this movie in terms of his battle smarts. One of the big disadvantages that Frieza had is the fact that he had this stamina drain with his golden form. He couldn't keep it up forever, and Goku knew that, and he tried to exploit that weakness. Let's take a look at the movie, for example. Obviously, Goku fights amazingly here anyways, just as well as he ever does. His martial arts abilities and his battle instincts are just as great as ever, but he seems to keep his distance from Frieza, which draws out the fight a bit. Frieza overestimated how long he could last in battle and how strong he is in comparison to Goku, while Goku made a perfect estimation of how he'd perform. He not only predicted that outcome, but he fought to make that outcome become a reality. His judgment of Frieza was perfectly accurate, and as we move more through Super, there's more examples that are actually way greater than this one too. A perfect one comes from Goku versus Botamo. He was actually pretty smart in this fight. I mean, this fight alone should show you that he's a genius. But in all seriousness, I'm obviously talking about Goku versus Hit. Although, that fight with Botamo is a good example, but this one's the better one. Goku vs. Hit actually goes pretty well in both versions of the story, both in the manga and anime. In each one, he has different ways of countering Hit's time skip. The anime obviously has him take a huge risk with Kaioken, becoming so strong and fast to the point that he can outpace Hit, even with his time skipping. The manga's is even more impressive though, because he employs a brand new strategy for this, not just using brute strength, the Super Saiyan God to Blue switch. This is of course seen later on in the series. Vegeta employs it, and even Goku shows it later on, in the anime too. But this is a pretty good example because he's using it to counter time skipping. Literally a guy controlling time. He's able to counter that, and that should just show you how smart Goku is in terms of battle. But outside of the person he's fighting, the technique itself is pretty genius. It avoids the stamina issues of Super Saiyan Blue and still lets him use the power of it. He can attack at full power in Super Saiyan God, and then at the last second, switch into Super Saiyan Blue. An amazing strategy that combines speed, power, and efficiency, while also allowing him to outsmart an enemy that could literally see what he's gonna do in the future, which is just insane. And it's not like Hit's inexperienced with the time-skipping technique or whatever. He's incredibly old and experienced, which makes the feat just that more impressive for Goku. We can move on to the next arc as well, and I did mention those two things before that made Goku look kinda dumb in this arc, but one of the reasons I like the manga version of this arc better is it makes Goku look way smarter than he does. Yeah, that Mafuba thing still does happen, but it's not really Goku's fault, it's more so just a mix-up, which can more so be blamed on Roshi if anything. But Goku's battle smarts really shine through here, not just in his analysis of how Vegeta fights, but also in his own fights, especially with Zamasu. And there's actually something really smart here that isn't Goku being battle smart, but rather actually smart. He completely deconstructs Zamasu's plan and tells him why it's stupid and why it's not going to work. And the strategy might seem overconfident, but it ends up working, to the point where Zamasu and Goku Black even start arguing each other. He knew Zamasu was immortal and he couldn't overcome him physically here, but he overcame him mentally. And again, this isn't something with him being battle smart or anything. This shows that Goku is actually intelligent in some aspect, and one of the reasons why I think people don't give him enough credit. Once again in this arc, Goku also evolves Super Saiyan Blue. By the way, I'm still talking about the manga version, where he perfects Super Saiyan Blue, containing all the power within it. It's not a perfect strategy, but shows once again how great he is at technique, and how quickly he evolves with new powers. And just like Blue Kaioken in the anime, he knows that this is risky, and he knows his limits here. He knows when it's running out too quickly. Goku has a great sense of how to act in battle, and how much energy he has to use, as well as the best way to use that energy. But despite Goku's insane strength, there are moments where he's shown to actually not use his strength in battle, just like the one with Zamasu. Obviously, I could talk about his martial arts performance in Dragon Ball as a whole, but outside of even martial arts, he does some really smart things, like against Broly. He could see that Broly wasn't a bad guy, and instead of relying on brute strength to defeat him, he actually tried restraining him for a bit, even copying a technique from Hit. The fact that he used the Godbind alone is pretty impressive. I mean, the fact that he pulled this off is insane. But he was smart. Instead of continuing to fight Broly, he tried to talk to him, get to his mind, just like he did with Zamasu, but obviously in a much different way. And utilizing restraint rather than brute force actually was a better technique. Of course, it didn't end up working in the end, but this had a better chance of working than him just continuing to beat up Broly. So even though it didn't work, it's important to note his thought process here. It was smart. Also, I briefly want to talk about the Moro arc. Goku and Vegeta were both smart in how they fought Moro. It was a guy that could steal energy. They both found ways around it, and it does show that Goku's battle smart, but I want to talk about how people call him stupid here for giving Moro a Senzu Bean. I've talked about it before with the Cell Saga and how he gave Cell a Senzu Bean, but for here, I don't think this is actually that stupid, and it's not really that big of a deal, because immediately after he gave Moro the Senzu Bean, he completely made a fool out of him. He knew that if it went wrong, he would be able to defeat Moro once again, so it didn't have any great lasting effects on the story. Senzu Bean or not, Goku still would have wanted to talk to Moro, and he probably would have found a way to get Maris's power still. Just wanted to bring that up because I know a lot of people bring that up when calling Goku stupid. Another thing too, the Tournament of Power. People say that's Goku's fault, and that he caused it, putting the multiverse at risk, but no, he saved the multiverse, and it wasn't even really his idea. After seeing the Universe X tournament, Zeno wanted to do a tournament regardless. Of course, Goku did accelerate it by going to him and mentioning it, but the tournament was actually a great thing. Zeno wanted to erase the multiverse regardless. This gave the multiverse a chance at survival, and it wasn't just one universe like Zeno said. With how the tournament ending, all of them survived because he saw how mortals perform not only in battle, but in terms of selflessness within 17's wish. And that's why I think it's unfair to call Goku stupid for that, because not only did he not cause the tournament, but the tournament wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It had a net positive and not a net negative. It seemed bad in the moment, and I see why people would have said this back then, but with how the tournament ended, and with everything we knew beforehand, it's not really fair to call Goku bad for this. It's not even his fault, and it's a good thing. Oh, and speaking of the tournament power, I can go into a whole spiel about how great Goku is just for unlocking Ultra Instinct, which not even the Gods of Destruction could attain. But that would probably require a whole video, but just know I've had that on my mind. That's a perfect example of how great of a prodigy Goku is, and how great he is in battle, how quickly he adapts. He may have not unlocked Ultra Instinct intentionally, but he grew with it and adapted with it so quickly. That's definitely worth noting, and it showcases even further how great he is in battle like this. There's plenty of examples within Super and even the other series that show how smart Goku is in fights. Whether it be how he utilizes power, how he analyzes his enemies and his allies, how quickly he adapts, the strategies he uses, etc, etc. So yeah, Goku might be a bit absent-minded at some other points, but when it comes to battle, it's the exact opposite. Also, I think this is a good opportunity to mention, everyone talks about how Goku could be really smart with his fighting by using instant transmission and just killing an enemy before they transform. It's to the point where it even became a meme that transcends beyond Dragon Ball itself. And yeah, that's not wrong, but it's not really fair to call Goku stupid for that, because if he did that in every fight, there would be no story. Like, it's not necessarily wrong, and I see this criticism for a lot of pieces of fiction, but if you make characters do that for everything all the time, you're not gonna have a story at all. A good recent example is a lot of people said this for Spider-Man No Way Home, where people were saying, Peter should just make Doctor Strange erase all memories of Mysterio and what he said. And like, yeah, that would work, but do you not want a movie with 3 Spider-Man fighting together with consequences? Like, come on, it was worth it. But outside of that, I've said my piece. I can even talk about how quickly he adapts to scenarios, and even how he copies certain strategies and techniques as well, like that bootleg Hakai he used, for example. But we all know he's a prodigy, and I think I've made enough points in this video, so I feel it's fitting to leave off here. Let me know below what you guys think. It is a discussion video after all, so let's start discussing. Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree? Is there anything that you'd add to this discussion? Comment down below. I'll check them out and see what you guys think. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like. It really helps out the channel and it lets me know you guys want to see more videos like this. Anyways, if you haven't already, why not subscribe? And hit that bell icon too so you're notified about any future uploads on my channel, including any more videos like this one. As usual, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.